It's Brenda Miller from Stampin' with Brenda. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to share with you some of the things that I've been working on. And today I'm going to share some sneak peeks from the catalog that is launching in early January. And if you don't have one of those catalogs, and along with the celebration catalogs, just let me know and I'll see about getting something out to you. Um, However, I want to share today one of my favorite new products, and it was the first thing that I ordered when we could order anything from the catalog. And it is a new tool and a new embossing, hybrid embossing folder. So I want to show you how we can use those items to create a beautiful card and just teach you some tips and tricks about using them. So let's go ahead and go to my desktop. All right. So here we have a new brayer. Now, I'll tell you this right off the bat. This is not the new brayer. This is my old brayer. I haven't had a chance to purchase a new brayer yet. However, this part of the brayer, which is the effective part of the brayer, is exactly the same, and it is a thick rubber mat, if you will, on a cylinder so that it rolls smoothly and spreads color around that way. So that's what a brayer does. The new brayer has a nicer handle. And I will be getting it. I just don't have it yet. I'm not exactly sure how the size compares, but regardless, it will work for any of the projects that I'm showing you today. But I did want to point out that I don't have the new one yet, but it's going to be just like this. So we're going to talk about how to use a brayer. When you're using a brayer, this is one of the beautiful things about the Stampin' Up! Ink pads, is that we are going to ink up the brayer just by rolling the brayer onto the pad. And you can see that some of the color is getting on there. You can see where it's wet. Kind of have a good angle there. And you want to roll it the way that I'm doing it. So like you roll it, pick it up, roll it again, because if you just go like this, you're only inking up one small part of that cylinder. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're inking up the whole thing so that when you go to roll it on your paper, you have plenty of ink on there. Now, I rolled that way more times than needed to be, but because I was talking. But yeah, you just need to go around a couple of times and you'll have plenty of ink on there. One of the first things that you want to note when you're working with a brayer, and this goes the same for our brushes, our blending brushes, you want to start off the paper. And the reason for that is you don't want to have hard marks. You still may get some hard marks, but this helps eliminate them. So you start off your paper and you roll your color on. And you can see I probably have something under here and I stopped a little too soon, so I didn't get that, but you're just going to roll your color onto your paper. Okay, and you can work on this and get it to be smoother and more coverage. You can go in different directions to make sure that that happens, and you can also go back and forth. But remember, like I said, when you ink it up, you want to make sure that you've got the whole thing inked. And the same thing when you are rolling onto your paper, you want to make sure that you're getting, that you're making the turn all the way. Now in this case, I'm doing just what I'm going to call, this is the right hand side of the piece of paper, and I'm just going to make this a little bit darker. And there are all kinds of things that you can do with a brayer for coloring your papers. You can change colors and get you can get more of a high ombre effect. Sorry, that word got lost in there for a second. And I am by no means an expert on how to use a brayer, but it's a great way to get a lot of coverage. And you can just keep going over it and over it to get to the color points that you want. And regardless, it makes it for a very cool background. So that is way number one, that we can use a brayer. But the way that they're introducing it, Stampin' Up! Is introducing it in the new catalog, is as a way to color our embossing folders. So this is a technique that we've been doing for quite some time, and that's just applying ink to the inside of your embossing folder, and that way it can put the ink on when you go to emboss. So to do that, same thing, you're going to ink up your brayer. So I'm over here, and I'm using Boho Blue for this particular project, and you roll it across the side, the inside of the panel that has the Stampin' Up logo. Okay, you see that down there, the Stampin' Up logo? That's on the outside. We're working on the inside of that, and that is the impression that goes with the front of your embossed piece. So once you have it inked up, I am happy to report that it stays wet for quite some time. So you're not in a huge hurry with this because it is plastic, right? So it's not drying on that plastic. As we all know, um, our water-based inks do not dry on plastic, at least not right away. And most of the time you can reactivate them. But now I'm just taking my piece of paper, just plain white cardstock, and I'm closing it up, and I'm going to go over to my my cut and emboss machine and put it through with the normal plates. Now, one of the things that you could do now that you've inked it up, you might not even want to emboss. You might want to just use this as a stamp. Watch what happens. When you open it up, you have kind of that image on there. It's not very complete, but it is there. But if I take it over to the cut and emboss machine, look what happens. Isn't that amazing? So you've got the embossed image. See how it's raised? Okay, so it's pushed through from the back, and all those areas where you applied ink are now applied to the paper. So that is a really cool look and a very easy way to get that look. I didn't mention before, but when you are moving on to a different color, you want to make sure that you clean your brayer. And all I do to clean my brayer is go to the sink and run it under water and then dry it off really well. Again, because I'm using a water-based ink, that works. And the same thing with the embossing folder. You'll take that to the sink and rinse that off as well. Just make sure making sure you dry it well before you apply a different color. Okay, so that's a second use for the Brayer. Now, the new product that besides the Brayer that's in the mini catalog is this combo, and it is, you can see mine's already a little inky, and I'll show you why. This is an embossing folder with a bunch of sentiments. I'm going to just open it up so that you can see. There's a thank you here. Oh, happy day. Thinking of you. Love you. Hello. With sympathy. You make me happy. Get well. Ooh, you can't see that one. Get well. And then celebrate, and then just because. So you're going to have to take my word for it because it's hard to see. But that is the embossing folder, and you can just put a piece of paper in there and emboss it, and you'll get a background if you wanted to of just sentiments. But this embossing folder is a hybrid, which means that it is designed to go with a die. So here's this big die, and the idea behind the die is that it fits in and cuts out all of those images. So it's going to emboss and die cut all of the words, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that, but let's see what they look like first. So if you just put it through the embossing folder and cut them out without any ink, you get these impressions. So here's a thinking of you. You can see I'm very inky today. Apologize for my messy hands. Here's the celebrate. Over there. We've got the hello. I really love the hello. You'll see me, I'm going to be using this a lot. Hello. And you can see that there's some depth here. It looks really very nice. Something that you can touch. Here's an oh happy day. And these are great. And so just more of the images are down here. But as you can see by looking at it on my desktop, you can see what they say, but the images kind of get lost in the light, okay, the words. So what you can also do, and this is really the design, is using ink. You can ink up those words, and then when you stamp them, when you ink them and then cut them out, look how gorgeous that looks. Okay, so this is Blueberry Bushel on Balmy Blue cardstock. That's what I started playing with because that's what I had out. at the time. So there's that, oh happy day, so nice and clear. You can also, you know, do it any which way you want. Here's, these were some of the first ones that I did, so I wasn't inking them up quite enough, but you can see the dots on the Celebrate. But with practice, you get better with that. Look at how crisp that with Sympathy is. So there we go with some ink on them and on white paper. But then let's go ahead and take a look at making a set ourselves. So we're going to take the embossing folder, open it up, and we're going to be inking up the side again that has the Stampin' Up logo on the other side. Okay, so we're going to ink up our brayer, and we're going to start. Oops, I forgot. I wanted to switch colors. I wanted to show you that I did it first. I want to. Oops. I'm going to be embossing on Boho Blue, and when I did it with the Boho Blue ink, it definitely makes it better, but I really like the way it looks when using the darker blue, which in this case will be the Blueberry Bushel. So let's go ahead and ink it up with that. Since I'm going to a darker color, I don't really need to bother cleaning my brayer. Okay, so here we're going to go and ink this up. Now, because the lines, I know I'm going to be shaking my table here, but because the lines in some cases are a little thinner, you have to make sure that you get them all. So, for example, let me just, it's hard to work in a small space sometimes, right underneath the camera. Let me just clear that out so you can see. So for the thank you, I want to make sure that I'm getting close to the fold over here to make sure that I ink those up. And I'm inking the whole thing up, but in actuality, normally I would only ink up the one or two that I was looking to die cut, and you'll see why in a second. But here we have most of them covered, and for my card, I can decide which words I'd like to use, and I'm just going to take a smaller piece of the Boho Blue cardstock, and as I said before, I love the hello, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that again. And I'm going to lay my paper down, okay? Now, you don't want to touch anything, and you don't want to use a huge piece of paper and cover the whole thing because it makes it hard to line up. Now, other people may tell you otherwise, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other demonstrators do with this, but this is how I found it to work the best. The reason you don't want to use a huge piece of paper is because you want to make sure that you have something to line up and latch onto when you're laying down your die. Okay, so I want my die to kind of lock in, and here I'm locking in on the C. Oops, I don't know if you can see that right here on the C, and you can see that this isn't, I can get it so that it's not moving, and of course because I'm trying to, I'm not getting it to stay. But you can also work over here in the corner, just because you want to get it, you want to make sure it's in the right place, so it has to have something to lock into. It locks in even better on the other side of the embossing folder, but that doesn't help you because you need to be able to cut. Now I just did this exactly wrong, and I told myself not to do it this way. Backtrack, forget what I just said. You want to put down your die first, right? This makes so much more sense. I don't know why I did it backwards. I'm really sorry about that. Anyway, you want to put down your die so that your cutting edge is up and that it slides and fits in to the paper. And then you want to lay down the piece that you want to cut out. You're going to close it up, and then you're going to go, oh, see how it looks on the other side? You can see exactly what you're going to be die cutting. So again, I even wrote it down for myself, and I still said it wrong. You put your ink, you lay your ink down, then you lay down your die, cutting edge up and locked into place, and then your piece of paper. And then I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to put it through my die cut and emboss machine. I'm sorry you can't see it, but it's on the other side. And just to note, I'm only using platform 1 and 4, plate 4, in order to do this. It's a thick embossing folder. And when we open it up and take away the die, we have what's been cut out. Oh boy. So you can see I have some pieces that it caught, the other ones, but look at this hello. Isn't that just perfect? So that's how that works. So again, because I said it wrong before, you're going to ink up the side of the embossing folder that has the Stampin' Up logo. You're going to take your die, cutting side up, lay it into, where am I? Here I am, upside down. Lay it over the words until they lock in. Okay, so once you get it in place, you'll know, because then it doesn't really move. And then you can place your paper down, close it up, and go over to your cut and emboss machine. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and make our card. We got a nice little with sympathy as well. So I've got all kinds of words now hanging out over here. So I'm going to take a piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock, and I'm going to give it a good crease using my finger because all my scoring bones are packed up for, I have 3 classes this week, another one tonight, one was last night, and they're on the road, and so things are packed up. So I don't like to rock the boat if I don't have to. And then I'm just going to put that aside for a second, and I'm going to take out some Designer Series paper. Now this paper is a sneak peek. This is some of the celebration paper. This is the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper. Look at these adorable little birds. I've shown this before. So pretty. I'm going to show it to you again. There's a bundle in the catalog, the new catalog, that cuts out these little birds, or some of the little birds. Then we have lots of little birds, different colors, and look at this paper. Isn't this gorgeous? You know that spring is coming, even though it's not even winter yet, to be perfectly technical. But we have this Designer Series paper to get us into the spring. And you can see this is the piece I showed you before. Okay, so that is the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper. So I took one big sheet of it. This is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to put that. It's a shame to cover this part side up, right? That's okay. We're going to use a different side. Look at that. I just finished my... Can't make this stuff up, huh? Okay. I'm going to lay that on my front. Oops. Now that I put it on there, we're just going to put that aside for a second. I swear, if my head wasn't screwed on, I would lose it. Let's go ahead and put down a piece of Boho Blue. And this is going to come across the middle of the card. And we'll take another piece of the Designer Series paper. And I've cut this 2 by 4. And this will go onto the front. And you'll see why I'm doing this in 1 second. So here we have, this is going to be the front of my card. But I want to make sure that I put on a little ribbon. So this is the Lost Lagoon bordered ribbon in the annual catalog. And I'm just going to cut a piece, and like I like to do, I prefer doing my knots this way. There are lots of different ways to do it, but I'm just tying a knot at the top of a loop. Very hard to see, very hard to describe, and hard to do with a camera in your face. But I'll give it a go. Here we go. Sometimes I just need to give myself a little bit more room. I really hate being so inky, but it's just the way it's going to be this week. I am going to have a very inky week. Okay, so here's my knot at the top of my loop. You see that? And I'm just going to cut it to the left side, and then with any luck, it's going to wrap around and adhere to the adhesive that I put on the back of the paper when I wasn't supposed to. Okay, so you can see that it's sticking into the adhesive on the back. And we're going to lay that down onto the card front. Can't go wrong with any pack of paper. The papers all coordinate with each other. So by just taking out 2 sheets, I've got a nice combination and makes it for a very simple card. And then I'm going to take my hello that I cut out before. Maybe I'm going to take the hello. Let's see, where'd that go? Oh boy, there it is, stuck to my folder. So here's that hello, and using our mini dimensionals, I'm going to just put 3. These are nice and strong. They will hold the die cut. And put it over here. What the heck? So we've got the hello. And now we can put this anywhere we want on the card. I like for it to overlap all the different layers. So I'm going to put that there. And there we have it. A fun card done with that really cool hello. Or I could have used easily celebrate. We could have done that. Any of these, of course, will work depending upon where you put them. So this is just a very versatile combo. So that is a little bit about the Brayer and coloring on paper and coloring the embossing folder and how to clean them. Just running them all under water is fine, and drying them off well with like a paper towel. And then how to use the hybrid embossing folder. So I think I've covered everything. I had to just check my notes there. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching me do this, even with mistakes and all. Hopefully you'll forgive me. And if you have any questions on how to use this or any suggestions, I would love to hear it. But I can't wait for you to see it in the catalog. And again, if you don't have a catalog yet, please let me know and I'll do my best to get one to you. All right. Until next week at the same time, have a great week, great holiday season, and we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.